Alrighty, well, welcome everyone. This Tuesday, December 3rd, a snow is outside, floating down nicely, and will continue to float for the next few days. We're calling to order at 5 p.m. and welcoming guests. We have people here in the audience, and if you want to talk, just make sure you state your name. And we have Shelley on Zoom, and Peter is here on remote. Welcome, everyone. So our first item is to approve the agenda for approving the minutes for November 19th. Regular meeting, action likely. Any comments?
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And alrighty, any further discussion about the minutes? Alrighty, all those in favor of approving the November 19th minutes, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Great, thank you. And then next is approving the agenda for today. I just wanted to add that at around 6:20, I need to step out to do a phone call for work that can't be changed. And so if we're still meeting, I will have my vice chair continue chairing the meeting. So that's the only thing I have. Sarah, do you have anything to add or change?
Nope.
Alrighty. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes? The agenda.
I'll move.
Okay, Randy moves. Is there a second? Vic seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Wait, who seconded that?
Vic. Okay, so now we have Lincoln here from Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, and I invited him to come because you'll see here there's a letter from Travis Thompson from NRCS. And I was asked to approve, which I did approve, or I signed to increase the estimate that we had on one of the EWP projects. And it was quite a significant amount, and I felt like I needed to, that this wasn't something that I felt entirely comfortable just going ahead and doing without bringing this to the board, and also having Lincoln explain sort of what is going on and why there's such a big increase. And so Lincoln is here to kind of walk us through kind of the next step, like what's happening like with this letter, as well as this, he has this little 6-point or 5-point page of sort of next steps for the EWP for this last year, right, Lincoln? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can share electronically.
Okay, do you want to come up here so that
Sure.
People can hear you and we have a,
Yep. Does this work for the?
I don't know.
There's a mic right there. I think as long as Peter can hear you.
Lincoln, we can't put it on, we don't have a way of getting that on electronically.
Why don't you just bring your chair right over here, Lincoln, sit right next to me. Randy.
If you want to make copies.
Oh, all right, yeah, did I give you one?
Well, I-
It's kind of 5.
Should also mention Dexter's.
Yeah,
Just as we're
yes.
talking about that, I
Yeah.
think that's important information.
Okay, thank you, Liz, for the intro, and yeah, I'll just start at that, the letter of request that we did send to the NRCS, and I'll say thank you for expediting that because it is a lengthy process to get anything approved by the NRCS, and as of today, J. Merrill is wrapping up all other project sites except 289 Brook Road, which we are waiting to begin at until we have this money obligated to the town. And it's looking good. Michael Lapointe said the process is underway. Travis Thomason has signed the amendment, but there's still administrative work that needs to be done before the town actually has the money. Once that happens, what one of the items on this five amendment list that I gave you all is to authorize Liz to then sign an amended contract with J. Merrill obligating the money that we requested to complete that construction. So that I just started there, but I want to zoom out and say that extra work was needed because of the impact of the July 2024 storm and there was significant damage, or I guess continued degradation at 289 Brook Road that warranted a huge extension of the armor channeling that was, more than twice, almost twice as much as not quite, but much more than the original forecast at that one site. And it did also require an updated, or I should say, will it require this updated engineering design. So with that, I'll just kind of start at the top here. I'll describe what I gave you all, and then we can go and do questions, and we can check my math. So, there's a couple, there's
sorry, Sarah.
two grant amendments and 3 contract amendments that will need to happen to finish up the EWP project here. And the first 2 items on the list we can get going with right after this meeting if everybody decides to. And the first is to, give Liz the authorization to sign an extension of this contract with the NRCS. This may just be precautionary. We might be able to finish up by January 9th. It's looking that way if the money comes through for this last site. But if not, we've been advised that we need to hand in this request for extension by the end of this week. And then, once that is signed and shipped on, if Liz has the authority to sign an updated, amended contract just for the timeline, that will, enable us to do this without a select board meeting. So number 2 would be to do the same deal with New England Consulting Engineers, extend their contract if needed to August 29th, 2025. If for some reason we can't finish this last site this year or by January 9th, then we can't really start again until July 1st of 2025, and that's a Department of Environmental Conservation restriction on in-stream work before July 1. So we just want to give more than enough time, and that's why the NRCS agreement would go till September 15th, 2025. So that gives us time after the Dexter's New England Consulting Engineers contracts finished up. Any questions on those first 2? Just extension of the time, if needed.
Is there any reason the dates just don't match and have the contracts extend through the same period?
Yeah, because we will need a little bit of time to do closeout verification of, essentially our final report. They recommended, we have a little bit of leeway after. So that's why we ended that Dexter's contract a little bit before the actual agreement with the NRCS. All right, so moving on to number 3 is the grant amendment, and that is this budget increase that we started talking about. So what we have submitted is this request for an additional $111,949.30, increasing the award amount to $816,516. So those are the overall numbers. So $111,650 of those dollars would be just for construction, and then there's some more notes on the back. $299.30 would be going to the engineering budget. So I'll try to explain that a little bit better. But point 3 there is to authorize Liz to sign an updated agreement. We've already asked for the money. It sounds like it's coming soon, but we just need authorization to actually sign the amended agreement, assuming that we do get the funds. And then that 4th bullet is breaking it down into the amending the engineering side of things. So, the original engineering budget, $38,000, that has, gone up to $42,100, and that is explained on the back here of the page. Essentially, $1,800 was needed for July 2024 storm additional redesign in general, and then $2,300 was requested for the 289 Brook Road design in specific. So that's how we get to $42,100. And a budget increase of $4,100. And then lastly, hopefully now this makes sense, but it's the construction budget increasing by $111,650 for a grand total of $774,416. And that increase is solely for the 289 Brook Road. So they're not starting that project until, like I said, the money is fully obligated to the town, and we just want to be poised for when that happens. If it's tomorrow or if it's next week, we want to be ready to have Liz be able to sign that, and we go right into work and hopefully finish this all by the new year.
Can you explain the difference to me between 816, 516, and 774?
Okay, so 816, 516 is this would be the new award between the NRCS and Middlesex. This would be the entire sum of the EWIP program. What was the second number?
774.
774. That's the entire construction budget.
That's for Jason.
That's for Jason.
So the rest of it
Is going to
Dexter. Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Okay, that's
the other thing.
Jason and Dexter total.
Yeah, that's the other thing to note is that,
Jason only.
there would be zero money left if there was any administrative tasks that you were all going to do. I mean, CVRPC, we are doing a lot of this through our just regular municipal planning budget, and that's totally fine. But if you wanted to do something outside of that realm or pay somebody, there would be no money left, is what I'm saying. Unless we, again, asked for an increase, but
Okay.
yeah.
And so on this, I'm looking right now at something that Lincoln sent me, which is amendment number 1 for Dexter. So this is just for doing the contract date?
That's
and then
just
there will be
the
a
extension.
second one that is for an increase of 4,100.
Correct. We didn't want to do it all at once because we don't have that money yet, and Dexter's contract
Gotcha.
lapsed yesterday. So
Okay.
we just want to get this.
Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
go ahead and sign this, which is just for the date.
Okay. Yep.
And that's this right here?
That would be number 2.
That's number 2?
Check.
Okay.
Yep.
And then number 1,
Would be, there's a draft letter that I sent you that you would just need to review
This
and
one.
sign.
Mr. Thompson?
That
Thomason?
actually is for the money, but there's another letter
This
that
one?
I'll send you for the date. Yep.
This is the
one.
extension request?
Exactly. This
Right
one.
here?
Yes.
Okay.
So that needs to be signed and submitted by the end of this week. Hopefully, we don't need it, but we do need to get it in just in case. So we have that kind of, backup plan of.
And this letter, when did you send this to me? In that same email?
I can resend
Well,
it.
I just want to,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many
Yeah,
emails
totally.
like this, and I think
It
it probably
should be
makes
in
sense
that-
for me to just do my digital signatures on everything rather than signing and handing
Yep,
them to you.
totally. Yeah. It should be in that
In this same.
thread. I hope so.
Yeah, I can't figure out the new,
Gmail did an update or something.
no, I just where do the attachments? Do I have to go into the individual emails to find the attachments? Like this one, a draft extension request letter. What is this one called?
Yeah, this
That's
would.
this one.
Yeah,
All right, let's
extension
see what
request.
this one says.
While she's dealing with that,
Yep.
can you just explain for the residents the interaction that you had with Dexter to compare, make sure that the pricing for Jason
Yes.
was appropriate?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NRCS asked Dexter to submit his estimate of how much it would cost to complete the 289 Brook Road project. And I don't think I brought that with me, but it was over the amount that Jason Merrill quoted.
Yeah, I don't remember the specific amount, but for
Yeah.
those watching, it was 147,000 plus, somewhere between 147 and 148,000 $148,000. I think that's just important for people to know that there is some background legwork being done to make sure pricing is
Yep.
is fair and competitive and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, so do you guys have questions about this? So it sounds like we need to have a motion that authorizes me to sign these first 2 documents and then sign future documents
Correct.
per this.
Yeah, And yeah, I mean, I'm
For
not
this.
trying to confuse, I'll just clarify that we don't actually yet have an extended award from the NRCS. We just need to sign the letter requesting one. So we did the motion, this possible action here is to sign an amended award, but what we still have to do is sign the letter requesting and submit that. And then we actually do have the contract amendment that Dexter signed in number 2.
What do you want me to call this?
I would make a motion to allow our chair to sign the grant amendment for the extending the date of the award to September 15th. And also authorize the chair to sign the amended contract with New England Consulting Engineers, extending that date to August 29th of 2025, as well as providing future authorization to sign the increased budgets for the $4,100 for New England Consulting Engineers and $111,650 to J. Merrill once the town has been awarded those funds, but not before.
Plus that $299.30, is that included in that?
That's part of the 4,100.
That's part of the 4,100? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great motion, and I don't know if it's assumed within that, but yeah, it's agreeing to the number 3 essentially.
Yes, essentially those other two, that's the way I view that,
Yeah.
is the other two individuals
They're
tallied
contingent. Yeah.
for number 2.
Yeah.
So just a question, waiting for the money doesn't hold us up if we do actually get this done by January 9th?
We have to wait for the money. We can't do the
Okay.
work before we have the money because they won't reimburse that.
Then I will second that motion.
Yay! Okay, all those in favor of said motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? All right, the ayes have it. So, just quickly, what am I calling this?
The extension request letter,
Okay.
NRCS extension request letter.
And this is not like the second request or anything, right?
No.
I feel like we've had so
we
many
have,
letters.
But we did request more money in a very similar format, but this is the
Okay.
first, extension for the time. Yeah.
Okay, and then the second thing that I'm signing is.
I think, you had it, that
Oh,
letter.
it was the other
no,
one.
yeah,
It
the
was
next
this.
contract.
It was this one from, it was this one.
Yes, yeah, which extends the time.
And this is,
Um,
okay, let me
for
just
New England
download this
Consulting.
and save it. Okay, so I've saved them to my file, and I will electronically sign them and email them to you later,
Perfect.
now that I
Thank
know what I
you.
have to do. Okay.
I have one other question before
Yep.
he heads back to the audience or leaves. You said the other work was either being wrapped up or has been wrapped up?
Yeah.
So that's all been final inspections and everything, went through fine?
Yeah, so we're still waiting on, we still need to go through the invoicing process to pay J. Merrill. So I have one partial invoice, and I think Dexter has another. So Dexter still needs to confirm that those projects check out. And at that time, then you'll see more emails from me, Liz, that will be requesting, a reimbursement for construction funds. Because we haven't, we have one paid invoice to New England Consulting Engineers. We have one active invoice, and we owe one essentially, but we haven't invoiced at all for construction yet. So those sites that have been completed may or might not have been inspected yet. Yeah.
And it's very helpful how you tell me to please read.
Okay, all right, good.
Continue to do that.
That was
Can I
fun.
ask you a question about the invoicing?
Yes,
Okay, so just to be clear, just get in the minutes, the invoices are submitted from Dexter, from J. Merrill to Dexter, right?
Correct.
And then where did they go?
So then, once Dexter approves them,
Yeah.
they come to me. I will fill out the NRCS reimbursement forms, and then I send them to Liz.
Okay.
And, you know, so I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about that, but I mean, you know, we could also grant Liz the authority, if she doesn't have it already, to sign off on those construction.
Well, considering that we're only gonna have like one more meeting.
Right.
Before the end of the year, and that Jason's looking for his money. I'm
Yes.
thinking maybe the board might wanna expedite that somehow, so that we don't have to wait, have an emergency meeting or something. Just authorize Liz to sign it, or the treasurer sign it?
I mean, it would seem to me that if it's been approved, we could authorize the treasurer to release that once it comes.
Yeah.
If the board was happy with that, that seems like the most
I'd second that,
expeditious
too.
way.
And that includes my signature?
We would authorize Cheryl to sign, or
In
the
your
treasurer,
absence.
assistant treasurer, whoever's available during the holiday season to expedite that process. That would seem appropriate to me.
Just to pay the bill that we've
Just
already
to pay the
know.
bill?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's already been approved by Dexter. It's
Okay.
it's already running
Gone
through
through.
that. Yeah.
okay.
So I would move to authorize that signature.
So
And I-
authorize the treasurer to release the funds once CVRC, once Lincoln approves? Is that it?
So it will be Dexter, it will be the engineer, New England Consulting Engineers, who will approve the work and the
Okay.
invoice. I will just send you all the documentation of requesting that reimbursement from NRCS, because that needs a town sponsor signature.
Okay.
And then once that's submitted, then the money will come directly to you all to pay
Okay,
Jason. Yeah.
all right.
Okay,
We have to vote on that.
All right.
Yeah, are you gonna vote on that?
okay, so there was a motion. It
I
was
second.
seconded by Zara. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you for coming, Lincoln.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and I'll leave you with a little bit of what I know about the 2024 real quick.
Oh, yes, I was gonna ask
Couple-
you.
Couple updates. Yeah, so right now what we know is that 4 of the 16 sites that were assessed were approved for assistance. And right now, what we are waiting on is the NRCS to give us a damage survey report of how much those projects are going to cost, and then we can start the next step of, finding an engineer. Well, actually, no, we don't have to do that, because the other update is that the NRCS is going to do the engineering in-house in 2024. So there will be no outside third-party engineer. There will be a third-party contractor, which we could potentially assist with issuing that, that request for proposals and soliciting a contractor. When that time comes, it will be a 25% share cost for the sponsor. So it's not going to be 100% covered like it was in 2023. The town will have to pay for 25% of the construction work. And, as this conversation came up in the first year before the NRCS covered all of it, what could happen, and we could talk more about this, is pretty much, we could ask these, we could write up a landowner agreement that requires the landowner to pay that 25% of their construction before work happens, or whatever you all are comfortable with, if you choose to participate in this next year of funding. But that is pretty much what we know right now, and as soon as there's more information, we can, obviously that will come to you first. Yeah.
Lincoln, you said 4 of the 16 have been approved. Is there ongoing work as far as the remaining 12 to approve any of the others, or are they basically passed for this round of action?
Yeah, from what I understand, it's that pretty much they decided that those properties weren't, there wasn't an imminent threat for the next storm at those sites, and/or they were, adjacent or being addressed in this year's repairs along Brook Road. I think 3 of the 4 sites were on Brook Road, but it didn't. Yeah, to my knowledge, they're not likely to add those sites.
Randy, a couple of them were repaired by the town. When the town went up and down and ditched the roads, I know a couple on Center Road, those issues were addressed by the town.
Okay.
And the other ones just didn't meet the criteria that the program.
Can we
set
say
up.
who it was that got it?
I know who it is. Do you want,
I would like to know.
JJ Van Dett and Molly Wallner, who are on the corner of Center Road and Brook Road, and I don't remember the numbers, but theirs is a Center Road address. Carol Picard, who's on Brook Road, Jennifer Tuttle, who's on Brook Road, and Kate Brigham, nope, Bigham, sorry, thank you, I knew that was wrong. Kate Bigham, who is also on Brook Road. So there are 3 on Brook Road and 1 at the corner of Center and Brook Road. And most of them qualified for stream bank rehabilitation and debris removal.
Okay, and then there's the 20%.
25%.
25%.
Yep.
And that's what we had discussed originally a year ago, before that bumped up to 100%, for whatever reason.
And there's no hope for the 100%?
Michael
yet.
didn't think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
like
what I've heard too.
The state engineer.
Okay, well, that's good news.
It's good news for those people. They're
Yes.
thrilled. And their houses are right
Yep.
against the brook there on Brook Road.
Okay.
The 3 of them.
I'm gonna ask, the people that I'm meeting with tonight are the Vermont Disaster Recovery Flood Fund. And I'm gonna ask if if they're willing to consider, especially if someone is, has low income and isn't able to provide that match.
Over 25%.
Yeah, if they would be willing to contribute that. Because we're talking, I think, at least 100, I know that when Jason did the estimate for Carol early on, it was over $100,000.
Those, yeah.
I mean,
there's a
that's
lot of
at
work
least
to do.
25,000 that she would need to contribute. So I'm gonna find that, I'm gonna just feel them out tonight to just see, like, is that something that they would
That would be
consider?
great. And unfortunately, we don't have those cost estimates yet. I don't know why.
That's
they're
what we're
taking
waiting
so
on.
long.
Okay, yeah, I mean, and they could change again, right? We could have another storm tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, we are, but it's gonna be snow, right? All right, sorry. Thank you, Lynn.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thanks for
Be in
that
touch.
update.
Yes.
Okay, so we are now on to, we're a little behind schedule. 520 Highway Department update, considering a driveway culvert policy, if available, which I do see it here somewhere. And considering an access permit for property on Wood Road, owned by Harlow Ballard. All right, so take it away, Eric.
Sure. Not much to report in the last couple of weeks. We've just been dealing with winter weather. The salt shed roof is halfway done. I hope to have it done by the beginning of next week. The patching on Shady Rail was done for the most part. They couldn't get everything, but they certainly got the majority of the big spots. Did some repairs on the plow for the International, replaced some pins and other wear parts, and headlight work on the Freightliner. As also there's a fan issue where it seems to be running hot, but it's not consistent, so I think there's a thermostat going on that clutch fan. But I'm looking more into that. That's about all I got.
Alrighty. And which of the trucks, how many trucks do we have that actually are capable of sanding and plowing?
3.
3,
Well,
and that's,
We got the pickup, so 4 really.
okay, and those are the Kenworth International and Freightliner?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and they have all, okay. How did you manage on Tuesday of that rainstorm? That was kind of a doozy.
Yeah, it came quick, but we were on it right off, so. I mean, it's just
Were there
like-
people off the roads?
I didn't see any, but I know it,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can only be in so many places at once.
I know, yeah, okay.
But it did freeze up instantly. And it didn't just.
Instantly, I know.
Yeah, it was just instant.
Yep. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I did get a correspondence from someone who was unhappy with the plowing on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
They were unhappy that I praised you
And me too.
and that Zara praised you guys because
It's unfortunate.
they felt that their road had not, it was McCullough Hill, had not been plowed. I don't know if that's,
Well, I know he hit it, but.
Oh,
Yeah.
it wasn't me.
So, I just thought I'd mention it since it was under correspondence, but it's related to the roads.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or comments for the road? Yes, Vic?
On that note, was it that Tuesday? Which I don't really mind, but I try to be as pleasant. I am as pleasant as I can be. That might not be good. Anyways, no. A lot of people still calling me with questions.
Okay.
And, I just call Eric, this road's terrible over here, people are gonna go off the road, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then they're always, I said, really, I'll call Eric for you,
Yep.
but I really don't have anything to do with that anymore. And I tell them why, and the first thing they say is, well, your name's still on the website. And I said, yeah, I know.
Well, you are a board member too.
I
People
think you're
call
a
board
member, but
members.
I took it off. I'll go check again. Maybe I missed that in my,
Sometimes also you do searches and the Google searches
I-
come up as old stuff.
Right.
I'll take it, I'll go right now, and make sure it's not.
Yeah, I know, I realize I'm a board member, and that's why I try to, yeah.
Okay. Duly noted.
Alrighty then. Anything else? Anyone? Okay. Culvert policy. Zara, do you want to?
Sure.
It's so tiny, it's so small now.
Yes, that's so you can't read it.
Yeah.
Sandy actually spearheaded kind of repairing the repair, maintenance, or replacement of right-of-way culverts, the last paragraph, based on what the select board didn't like. So hopefully we've changed the wording so that it makes sense. I do have this letter from Todd Eaton that I had gotten back in September when I was asking him about right-of-way culverts, and he says, many towns take different approaches to drive culverts, and I encouraged adopting a drive culvert policy. Most towns approved a new drive culvert through permit review and ensure that that worked, meets standards. The initial installation is the responsibility of the property owner, then the town will maintain drive culverts in the right-of-way, included needing replacements. I don't recommend taking responsibility for maintaining driveway culverts outside of the right-of-way. He also says any maintenance work done in the right-of-way, whether cross culverts or drive culverts, should be part of the highway budget. And then beyond that, the road committee, is a at least 15-member body. We all voted, it was unanimous, that this driveway policy should be what the select board adopts for our town. And that is to save us money in the long run, to take more, to have more power to fix things that we can fix, to keep our roads as in shape as we possibly can, and also to have the right policy when these things come along so that we can be repaid more easily by FEMA.
Gotcha.
All righty.
Waiting for a motion, Liz?
Yeah, does anyone have any questions about this?
I think,
I'll make a motion that we approve it as, that we approve the amended draft as presented.
Okay, just before we do that, Randy has a comment.
I was just saying that I think my previous concerns were addressed with some of the language change.
Okay, good.
It's clear in here, I think that it's done at the town's discretion when they feel like there may be damage to the roadway. and doesn't
I like
set
it
the
too.
expectation that they're gonna do it everywhere.
Good,
That was
good,
the
good.
plan.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy, I like that. And Zara, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll second the motion.
Alrighty, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of signing the right-of-way driveway culvert policy, say aye.
Aye.
Yay, opposed? All right, the ayes have it, Sarah.
Okay, I just need to print out a
A fresh one?
version.
Why?
One that doesn't say
The guys
draft.
have to sign.
Oh, right, it says draft. Alrighty, now, let's see where we are. Is there anything that you want to update us on the FEMA?
Sure. Actually, we're clicking along at a pretty good pace. Christina seems to get it in a way that others have not. So where are we at? We have signed off, and I told you this the last meeting, but we have had the official sign off on Brook Road and answered all the questions that came back to us. And Christina actually was a big help. She answered most of the questions for us. I have also sent a sign off on Center Road and East Hill Road. We have not received the questions back from them, but
We will.
yeah, we will. Next up, she's going to have Portal Road, and Notch Road, and McCullough hopefully done before the end of this week. And then we can move on to South Bear, Norton, Upper Sunnybrook, Davie, and Lower Sunnybrook.
Alrighty,
And
thank
that's all
you.
2023.
It's all 2023. We're hoping, at this pace with Christina now, it should be wrapped up by December 2023. And then we'll be moving on to 2024 in January. And that's,
Can you go back over the list of the ones that were gonna be left?
sure.
South
So the
Bear,
first-
Davie,
So right now, we have signed off on Brook Road, East Hill, and Center Road. She's working on Portal Road, Notch Road, and McCullough Hill Road. And then we're gonna move to South Bear Swamp and Norton, which is one project together. Upper Sunnybrook and Davie, which is another one project together. Lower Sunnybrook still needs to be done. And then there's another project that incorporates Zedon, Upper Barnett, and Nellie Chase.
What about Bulldog Road? I didn't hear that one in the list.
Bulldog was already sent
That
along
was
with
already
Macy
done,
and
sorry.
Wood, as has Government Hill, Shady Rill,
Yep.
Culver Hill. Those
That
were
one's-
gone months ago.
Just not sending us the money.
Yeah.
Right,
It's-
exactly.
That's it.
It's at least submitted.
That was, yeah, that was over $1 million,
Okay.
so of course we have it.
And I saw the Digger article that mentioned none of Middlesex, which will probably have one of the highest
Yep.
FEMA requests.
Sounds like it, based on that article. Once we are
Once we actually
awarded,
get the money. Digger-
The article was
So, yeah,
about-
Hardwick got $4 million, which is the biggest ever.
That
We're
Hard-
like, well,
that-
what about us?
it was about Hardwick getting 2.5 million and how that was the biggest awarded so far. So those are the keywords, awarded so far.
Right. I was like, Zara, where are we?
We're trying.
Save the best for last, apparently.
Okay, this is the driveway permit.
have we
folks.
received any more money?
No,
Okay.
I didn't think so, but I
You know
just
what,
wanted to
maybe
be
that's
clear.
an article for Digger.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what about us? Like, we've submitted, we haven't gotten anything. All right, thank you for that update. Any questions for Zara? Okay, so this is, the last thing on the roads is approving Harlow Ballard's driveway permit on Wood Road.
Do we all have a copy of that?
I didn't see a copy.
This, you can look at it.
If you want a copy, you can have a copy.
Or I can just pass it on.
I don't need a copy if I can just
Whatever's-
look at what
It says,
says.
Eric says to use a 24-inch diameter culvert, follow state standard B71 attached. You can look at that.
Yeah, there's plenty of ditch there to accommodate a 24-inch culvert.
Where is it?
It's almost towards the end.
Of what road?
Wood Road.
Said by Macy.
But it's 1.2 miles from Macy.
Oh, 1.2 miles from Macy.
It's all the way at the end.
Yeah, it's towards the end.
Oh, towards the end.
Yep.
Okay, so over, up near, that's not Worcester yet?
No, still ours. It's before our turnaround.
I think he's got the property, it's that close.
But it's our, okay.
What's that name, ladies, what's her name, Butler?
Linda Butler,
Yeah.
Buckley?
Buckley, thank you. Right there, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right near there.
Yep.
By the
Correct.
way, I just want you to know, Vic, that you are not the road commissioner on the website, have been for a while.
Oh, thank you.
That's what we're saying.
Well, he knows a lot about roads.
I know what he was saying, I think we were saying because they were on the website. but they-
What's that?
Because Vic said that people were calling him because you were on the website as the road commissioner, and I just checked, and you're not.
Is it in under contacts? Because sometimes it's contacts.
That's what I looked at.
Okay.
Or maybe it's in the town of Middlesex book.
Probably.
They don't go online.
I'll continue to be my pleasant self, I'll just.
Thank you, Vic. Thank you. All right, is there any more questions about this driveway culvert? Alrighty then, hearing none, is there a motion to approve said driveway?
I'll make a
culvert?
motion that we accept the driveway.
Alrighty, is
permit.
there a second?
Yes.
And a second from Randy. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I'll sign that.
I signed that, didn't I?
You did, yep,
Sometimes I forget.
yep. And then you have to do the final site inspection. All right. Okay, so it's 5:40. We're right on target for reviewing the budget request from the listers, Planning Commission and the Conservation Commission, as well as considering an office staff restructuring to include a town administrator. Action unlikely. And we did try to invite Susan Clark here today, but she's out of town, to talk a little bit about what a town administrator might look like. So why don't I just let Mark take it away and whoever else is here? I think it's just Mark. You're not on the budget committee, are you? No. Bye. See you guys. Thanks for coming. Okay, Mark, do you want to unmute yourself?
What?
Oh, we have the listers. It's the listers who are, okay, I'm sorry. I got a little confused. Okay, so listers are here to do their budget, and Sandy's here for her planning commission budget. And the office restructuring maybe is a conversation we have with Mark. Okay. So, listers. Shelley? Hi.
Hi. Annette might have the list there. Unfortunately, I have COVID, so I couldn't come in today. But we last year under budgeted the lister function, and we're paying for it now, so we're really trying to stretch it to next year. But the coming year, we have the townwide reappraisal, which we have some stuff to do before they start the process and start reviewing our data. During some of the training, I talked to Christy Wright, she's Department of Taxes, and unfortunately, a couple townwide reappraisals ago, the one that did the townwide reappraisal took properties and put all the separate properties as outbuildings on a lot of properties, and should not be done that way. Would be paying Nemrick a lot to fix this. We worked on one this past year. It took us 4 hours to do research and correct it, because it should be like individual parcel IDs tied to the main parcel as contiguous properties, which is a state law. And it wasn't done that way. We've got quite a few of those that we have to fix. And then we have mapping, which is behind, and we need to do research for VCGI and give him all the 1 cent last year. And I've already seen one with Welch Park that's incorrect, that I've got to call out to Brian to hopefully fix that, because it was common area, and they've got like right now where the little sheds for storage are as the common area on the VCGI records. So we've got some work that's ahead of us. The other thing would be, I think we need to start paying Nemrick, which I listed as 52.5. I think is that's per year, because it's going to cost 105 for the townwide reappraisal. And then last year, I think we did 26.5 for support, which we're asking to save because I don't think we use them hardly at all. I think we're getting more familiar where we're answering our own questions, but it's good to have in case we do need them. Computer, we did the same as last year. Mapping, we said 2,000 just because we don't know how much we're going to need from Brian at VCGI, but he was the one that mentioned it would be about that much. So right now we said approximately probably 35 hours a week for 3 listers. Right now, what we're doing is having Samantha do all the input on the computer because she's a lot faster. So we are trying to make sure we don't go over budget this year, but it's going to be really hard. I don't know if anyone has something to add.
Yes, Sarah?
Shelley, are you saying you need 35 hours a week?
For 3 listers.
For 52 weeks out of the year?
Right.
Per lister?
No.
Or
No,
total 35 hours?
Total, not per lister.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 1,820 hours total.
Right.
Okay.
And that's probably shooting high, but I know we shot really low this year, not realizing it. I think just being new, we didn't realize what was involved. And now finding some of the problems with some of the properties, it's a lot of research, a lot of looking at maps and trying to straighten out some of the records.
Gotcha. Mark, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, is there an hourly rate for the listers, or do we just pay them a flat fee?
It's by the hour.
I forget what it is,
I
25 or something?
thought it was like $28.
Yeah, somewhere between 27 and 28.
Somewhere between 27 and 28.
Okay.
And you need a new computer.
And the reappraisal money that's here, did I hear you correctly in saying that that was the split of what that estimate was? That was
Right.
already
We're
out?
supposed to- right. If I think if Cheryl's there, it's 52.5 for 12 months, and then it's going to be paid off the following year, 52.5. When we got the estimate back for them, it was 105,000.
We already paid them.
But when I talked to Christy Wright, she said it would cost a lot more if they tried to fix the properties that had. I think what happened is a couple reappraisals ago, someone used the land that was, say you had 100 acres and you had 4 lots of 25 acres each. Instead of having it contiguous, which is a state law against the first parcel of 25, they did some of them as outbuildings for the land and determined what the price should be on that, which was done quite some time ago. So I think it's probably being either underpriced or overpriced because it's not accurate. Excuse me.
Mark has another question.
Mark,
Shelley, for the support amount, do you know how much you've used this year, or expect to use this budget year?
For Nemrick, you mean?
The actual, the 26.5 that you have budgeted.
For
how
this
much
year?
of that?
I don't think we used any. If so, we used very little because I think the first 10 minutes is covered. But again, with the transition for Vermont Pie and Nemrick, we could foresee some problems.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, with the reappraisal and things, do you see some support being needed there?
Sorry, hold on.
Poor thing.
The 26.5 was support beyond the reappraisal. The 52.5 is the reappraisal.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
yes, Randy.
And it is, do you know what the rate is on an hourly basis or however their rate structure is?
For Nemrick?
Yes.
I think when we used them before, when Annette and I first came on, it was $100 and something an hour. When we had Marla there. If Dorinda's there, she might remember.
Right for the job.
So, couple things. First of all, I think the rate is like $150 an hour, but we pay, it was $5,000. I don't know if it went up this year or not, but it was $5,000, and that pretty much, you know, like Shelley said, they good for the 10-minute calls, but they work with us on that. They don't hold us to it. That support money that was put into the budget for the current year, I believe was because you guys were still new and you didn't know if you were going to need NEMRIC to help you go out and do some of the appraisal work, I think. It wasn't for the actual time to call them to support. I think it was for having whatever that woman's name was come in and help out if needed. Because when we did the budget at that time, you know, you guys were all still pretty new to it. But I think your regular support, for the most part, what we put into the plain budget would probably cover whatever questions they have.
So we don't need this 26.5 addition?
I think, I mean, you certainly don't need that much,
Yeah, it seems a
because that
lot.
wasn't used at all this year, because it was,
I would keep like maybe $10,000 in there.
So,
That sounds,
If we already carry, sorry, go ahead.
just the math, the 26.5 at $150 an hour is over 176 hours of support.
yeah.
Well, remember when Annette and I first started, they did all of it. They did all the inspections and they did all of it.
And what I heard Dorinda say was that we're already carrying a separate budget for the support that we're all thinking that this is for, and that this money was geared towards them actually being out on site doing reappraisal work or appraisal work. But if we're going through the reappraisal,
We don't need the extra.
that's where my brain goes, is that it's not
we're not needing it.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and any inspections right now, it's either Annette and I or Sam and I. We don't use them.
Right.
Yeah. So I
Let's
mean,
just take it out then.
I would say that 26.5 could probably come out, and if there was a need to increase the phone call support or the technical support, I'd rather see that ask instead of this ask.
Me too.
Yep, me three.
Okay. So 52.5 for the first year, 1,000 for a computer. Is that enough? Did you do a computer,
No,
Quote?
that was what was put in. That's what we needed.
You can get a good computer for $1,000.
okay.
And you just need one? Is that what you're thinking?
Okay. Mapping, 2,000, mileage and expenses, 1,500, and then the salary for 35 hours for 18, 20 hours.
Somewhere around $50,000.
Yeah. What we're finding is that we have some permits that are open that are over 10 years old. And we're trying to close them up and catch them up. So we need to work with zoning. Because according to the state of Vermont, they shouldn't probably be open over 5 years. But we've got quite a list.
Okay.
So-
Yes, Sarah has a question?
I'm just confused about the support. Okay, you took out the 26,500, but also Randy was saying if they need other phone support that's outside the reappraisal, that should be somewhere else in their budget. Is that right, Randy? Did I get that?
I mean, that's where I was going based off from the fact that it sounded like we had a $5,000 line item somewhere
All right, okay.
previously for general support.
Okay, $5,000 line item for the listers, or just to Nemrick?
No.
No.
Just to
for-
NEMRIC, and it's just what we pay to NEMRIC every year.
Oh, okay, just for line item, so even like if Cheryl called and had.
Right,
Right.
anybody calls
Right.
it.
Where is that in our budget in the line? What part of that is in our?
I think it's in,
Computer maintenance, right?
I have
For
under,
computer
yeah, something like
maintenance
that.
Okay.
for Disaster recovery, whatever.
Understand something else is we're still using NEMRIC as an interface with VT and most, a lot of other towns are not. So I think that kind of gives us a benefit where I think they treat us pretty good because we're still using them as the interface.
I think Shelley needs to stop talking.
Yeah. Okay, so, so it sounds like it's around, by our math, 51,000 for salaries at $28 an
28,
hour.
so it's less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little over 100,000 in the budget for listers for this year because of the appraisals. Okay.
Can I ask another question?
Yep.
So, don't we have a fund that's that is dedicated to a townwide reappraisal, would that necessarily be part of their budget, or would that be outside of their budget?
We
Should
put
have
money
fun.
aside? Do we put money aside?
Yeah. State gives us-
That's in their line item. We have, do you have a book here?
Yeah, I got it.
Is that in the capital
It's
plan?
in the, and we thought it was going to happen, so it's already in this year's budget.
It's not.
And what happened was, when we sent in the very first check for it, they said, oh no, that's not right. It doesn't start for another year. So, so it's budgeted this year. It was going to be budgeted this year and next year.
Oh, next year, but instead it's going to be next year,
Right,
next
so
year.
there's should be an over budget for this year, except we mailed them the very first check, and we didn't get it back, nor have they cashed it, so.
No, they cashed it.
Oh, they did cash it. They finally then they finally cashed it.
And I've
So-
asked them for it, our
Yeah.
part back a few times, and they haven't
Okay.
given
My
it back
point
to
is that,
us.
Cheryl, there's a fund for the townwide reappraisal. right?
Yes, it's
So
in
it should
there.
be outside their budget. I mean, it's not probably completely 52,000, but the state gives us a certain amount of money every year.
Oh, okay, so we're saying that our budget is really just the hours and the mapping and the computer and the mileage.
It depends on how much.
Well, there wasn't enough, if my memory serves me right, there wasn't enough in that fund to cover the reappraisal
Okay.
cost. So they do need to carry some, maybe not half, but
Right.
some portion of that, whatever that fund
Okay.
isn't gonna cover. I
But
don't
maybe
remember the
not
numbers.
this year, because we already have something.
We budgeted $26,500 for the Lister Nemrick assessor contract.
Yeah, but how much is in the fund for the reappraisal fund? There should be a reappraisal fund that rolls over every year.
We do have a fund. It's the money market account is the
Right.
reappraisal fund.
Because the state gives us money. so-
Right, I don't know how much is in there. I think when we figured out how much we had to put aside, we considered that, but I'd have to go back
Okay.
and look at my notes.
So it sounds like we need to do a little digging deeper to find out how much is in our fund and how much we have from this year's budget.
Well, it can't roll over.
Can't roll it over, but
It can't
like,
roll over.
we're not spending it, so, yeah, we still have to budget for it for
We
this next
still
year.
have to budget.
So, how much we need to budget for this year? And then include these incidentals.
What I'm saying is, the Lister budget shouldn't be as high as 100-something thousand.
Yeah, we won't, yes, you're right, okay,
Well,
thank
but if
you.
we've already accounted for what was in the fund when we did that exercise for this fiscal, then this would hold true.
Except we would have gotten more money from the state since then.
They give us every year something? Okay,
Okay.
so we'll figure out how much is in that account. Okay.
And
So.
would we have already received an allocation for this year from the state? Is that,
I couldn't tell you right now.
so that would be something to understand as you look at what's existing and whether or not we've received it, or if something else is coming.
I don't think we have, but okay, I don't want to swear to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, well, you guys you create you're the ones who pulls it together on the spreadsheet anyway. So when we start to look at the whole spreadsheet, that should be updated by then. Okay,
Do you
gotcha.
have those, did you get a copy of something so you have all the numbers?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
From
they
them?
give- they give-
Okay.
Any other questions for the listers? All right, hearing none, thank you. Where's no action?
Feel better, Shelley.
Thanks, Shelley, sorry you're not well.
Thank you.
And our next is Sandy with the Conservation Commission and the Planning Commission.
I'm just the planning
Welcome,
commission.
Sandy.
Thank you. I'm Sandy Levine. I'm just the planning commission.
Oh, you're just the planning, okay.
Thank you. I submitted a
Oh,
budget.
Adrian is here maybe, or no?
Submitted a proposed budget or draft budget that's roughly the same as last year. Increased the amount for postage and mailing to reflect increase in postage rates, and to make it roughly provide for one town-wide mailing during the course of a year. And kept the consultant budget the same. That's been used in the past to be a match for a planning grant. We're not looking for one this year. The road committee will likely be doing that, but going forward to the next fiscal year, that Planning Commission may be interested in applying for a planning grant. And then the other piece is for road signs in connection with this, for the school zone around the Rumney School. And this was in response to concerns by neighbors in and around Rumney about the speed of traffic going by Rumney and the safety of the situation there. We had a few meetings at Planning Commission meetings where we invited neighbors to look at what are some possibilities, you know, recognizing if we did anything, it would be a volunteer effort, and folks were into that. Paula, one of our Planning Commission members, really did a great job sort of laying out a 4-phase plan. What can we do to address the situation? Phase 1 is put in school zone signs as are required by, or as, you know, to meet the specifications for school zone signage. And we shared this with the road committee, also with the road foreman. This is not really a planning commission thing. We were happy to turn it over to somebody else. But the road committee and the road foreman said, no, you guys are doing fine, you do it. So that's why it's in our budget. We're happy to do it, you know, work with volunteers. The road foreman did say we could probably use, you know, some of the road crew help to put the signs in place. This wouldn't even happen till it would be next year's budget if it was there. And those were the cost estimates for the initial road signs. That's why it's in our budget.
Does that cost just to purchase signs?
Yes.
Or no labor?
No labor.
Expensive signs.
Yeah.
Well, there's several, right?
Yeah,
There
it was
must be
in
a-
I think I shared the draft. There are a number of road signs. Some is moving what's existing, some is updating what's there. You know, looking forward, I think we'd be looking to, you know, see how these work. Another phase could be to have those sort of flashing signs that tell you how fast you're going. And then a third phase is reconfiguring the driveway entrance into the school. So we don't have buses and drop-offs all going in the same place, in a place where there's a tight, low visibility turn. But that's down the road. Haha.
All righty.
got it.
Any questions for the Planning Commission and their
I agree with Sandy.
$78.50 budget?
I agree with Sandy. It seems like this should be in the road, in the highway departments.
We could put it in the highway department?
I mean, I would rather see it there than on the planning commissions, just for, yeah, I don't know. It just
Yeah,
feels
it
weird
makes
to me
sense,
to
yeah.
have it sit here.
Well, I think probably what Eric was thinking was,
Well, it was presented to the road committee, not the highway budget.
yeah.
So the road, we kind of punted just because we're so busy with other things, but.
And I got
Paul
the
has done
sense from
such a
Eric,
great-
this is not like a high priority for him. It's something that the planning commission picked up.
Right, but he's the one who would order the sign. I can't imagine, he must have a sign company, right, that you order signs from?
Right, on time design signs. Yeah. Right up in,
Okay.
right up in,
He has
Berlin.
$4,000 in his budget for road signs for the current year.
Okay.
I don't know what he submitted for next year, but
Well,
I mean, you could add this, one possibility, add this to their budget and planning commission could work with him.
yeah,
Instead,
maybe that makes more sense. It's really 6 of one, half dozen of another. It's
And
where it
you're
shows
okay
up.
with them helping put it in? You know, the maintenance of putting in the signs?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, and it sounded like Sandy had a conversation with Eric as far as, you know, using town road crew to assist with that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, my opinion is that, you know, signs have a specification that need to be met, and the foreman should be all over that. And quite frankly, if the town is gonna say, yes, we want these signs, I truly believe that it belongs with the highway department, and even the implementation of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's my personal feelings.
Yep. We punted on the road committee because we haven't gotten to signs yet.
Okay. Well, I would say.
I guess I would just maybe suggest you make it a suggestion to the
Yeah.
road department. I don't want to be foisting work onto
Yeah.
them. I don't necessarily want the select board to be foisting work onto them that's coming from the planning commission. So make it a suggestion and we can continue to have a conversation with them. I don't want to.
Okay, sounds good.
Liz?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
One of Sandy's points was that one of the steps was enforcement. Can we enforce that as we set right today? I thought we had some enforcement issues
We do.
with the town, with the sheriff's department, and even getting it done.
I think that's, and maybe, I think she said something about long-term vision. But yes, we absolutely need to address some of the ordinance issues that we have because it can't be enforced the way we sit today.
And I think some of the issue there, I mean, you're going from 30 to 20, and I think right now it's set at 30, but I think they're driving a lot faster than 30.
They are.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so, and then my question is before we order signs, saying what the speed limit is, are we going to change the speed limit then?
Well, the school zone is 20 or 25. It says school zone, I
And
think
it's
it's
set.
25. I don't know what it is, but there is a set speed for school zone.
I think it's like
20, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you.
I have two other things. There's a vacancy on the planning commission. Somebody resigned. Will the select board be appointing somebody to that?
Sandy, I mean, not
So
Sandy.
the board
Sarah.
accepted LOKC's resignation last time, and we have the signed notice of vacancy. And like, we hope that somebody from the budget, just as opposed to the budget committee where no one stepped up to join the budget committee, that someone will step up by the next meeting.
Do we put that out on Front Porch Forum?
Yeah. Hold down.
That was what I just signed.
That's what you just.
Okay, I wasn't sure what the status of that was. And just as an update, folks may remember this past July and the July before that, the select board had approved a survey going out to property owners and residents in the village area and surrounding about a possibility of a water system that would be connected with the development of the Colby property on the other side of the interstate. The Planning Commission is taking that on and we'll be getting that out next week.
Great. And that's for the people who live in the town only, right?
Only in the village and sort of the surrounding areas, so it's going to include the industrial park over there, sort of downhill from the Colby property.
Okay.
So do you need a motion to?
No, this is just all going to be put into, the spreadsheet that Dorinda and, who's doing that this year? Is it Cheryl? Cheryl will be pulling together. And then, we all then meet again. We say, where can we cut? Do we approve, right? And meanwhile, what Sandy's asking us is that we just touch base with Eric to say, Eric, are you okay with us putting the $4,000, $3,000 into your sign budget, and then working with the planning commission if it gets approved? Okay. Maybe, Sarah, we're going to forget that by the next meeting, if we just put that on the agenda.
What?
The sign. Just under roads.
Transferring the budget.
Yeah, transferring the sign budget for the school zone. Otherwise, I'm going to forget.
You may not have to do the full increase because the highway department usually does not use their whole sign budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it
It'll
might
be
be a good
less.
way to save a little
Actually
bit.
use that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so there was one more budget request for,
Before you move on, just addressing that, Sandy, you guys,
Two,
is this
actually.
a ballpark estimate, or did somebody actually price these, or?
It was a ballpark estimate. Paula Tenti, I think contacted some, where they make signs, and this was the estimate of what the cost of the signs would be.
So Adrian sent us, Adrian was here, but
She left.
she left. Okay, so she sent us a request for $500. Again, we're not making any action, for just their regular working budget, and then $5,000, which they used to ask for every year. They didn't ask for it last year,
Conservation.
to save some money for the Conservation Commission. And so they would like to request, and that's on the floor vote, right? The 5,000?
Yeah, that's one of the special articles that doesn't say by petition, it says by select board.
Yeah. So do we have to vote on that now?
No, you're gonna vote on the warning in January.
Okay, we vote on, okay, all right. So she's asking for that to be on the warning.
Right.
The 5,000, and so that's from her. And then Christian Meyer from Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission sent us a letter for the dues for CVRPC, which will be $24.55 at a rate of $1.38 per person. It's not bad. That's a deal.
Absolutely.
For what they do.
Comparatively?
I hope somebody else is paying them. Okay. Wow. So municipalities invested 86.9, and they leverage over $2 million. Wow, good for them. Alrighty, so that, you have all this, right, to add in? Okay, great. Alrighty, so now it is 6:15 almost. Wait a minute, are we done with that? Oh, the town administrator. So this was something that we should talk about next time. See if we can get Susan to come. But it's essentially, this is an idea that other towns are moving to hire a town administrator who does a lot of the work that like Sarah is currently doing in her role as town clerk and select board assistant. And what it does is it kind of pulls back on the requirements of what and the job duties of a town clerk and puts more of the duties on as a town administrator. So it's not like you would have two Sarahs, right? The town clerk duties would be sort of a lot lower and not as big of a job as it is right now. And the town administrator would be somebody who also helped with grants and did a lot of the work that we're not able to do. So it's different from a town manager in terms of how, like with a town administrator, from what I understand, the select board still has its role and, still makes decisions. Whereas if you had something like a town manager, the select board is just sort of a, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't really have any decision-making power. And so anyway, that's something that I want us to talk about because some of the towns are moving to that. And just given the fact that we have so much work now as a town that we're responsible for doing to comply with all the state stuff, that I think it's worth looking into. And plus, Sarah has indicated that, she may be looking to retire. And this is probably the time to be having this conversation and putting it into this year's budget.
This is not a question about the administrator, but a question about budgeting. Because the road committee is going after grants now, should I be putting like a 25%? Like, should I create a budget for the road committee that I should be presenting
Probably
the
should,
next
yep.
time?
Yep, which would be like a match.
Yep.
Right,
And that would probably fall under the road budget anyway, but yes.
okay.
And also, that goes back to our, which we haven't talked about, which we should talk about at a different meeting, is our match for FEMA that we're gonna have, and how we're gonna pay for that, for the 2024 flood, that 7% that we're gonna be responsible for.
7.5.
And I think I think we got it down to 3% for 2023?
2.5.
2.5,
I think.
okay, so.
2.5.
So those are things that we have to figure out, how we're gonna budget. And my guess is the state is gonna offer something like the bond again, like the bond bank, to be able to borrow at a very low interest rate, rather than putting it, in our budget as a big chunk of money that we're gonna pay. I think we would be better served to borrow the money, to keep the budget percentage down and to just burden the taxpayers less. Yep. Sorry.
I think we might want to double check with Keith or Todd on
Okay.
that, because I believe one of them said that we should be budgeting a percentage in our capital plan for disasters.
For disasters, okay, yep, that's, I'm just
To
wondering.
repay the
Yeah, to
percentage.
repay, yep. So it's probably, yes, that's probably a good idea for us to ask them what they think, is, I mean, we know what 7% is of however many millions that we're gonna be. But we're not gonna be able to just throw that number into the budget, right? That's gonna be a number that, but what he may be saying is, do we build a budget? Do we add this to our capital budget? I know it's not a capital expense.
It's funny because before they told us that they didn't want us to use the CIP for things like building a road mitigation, gravel fund or anything like that. They told us that that was not the use, that wasn't the intended purpose of the CIP, and they discouraged us from even considering building any kind of fund for that type of stuff within the CIP.
Yeah, and Mark, go ahead.
So just to add on to Randy's comments, I don't know back in 2021 when the CIP was put together that anybody was thinking about natural disasters like we've had in 23 and 24. But from a capital planning standpoint, you're talking about you'd have to accumulate millions of dollars in a fund. And, it's really a crapshoot as to how often you'd need to draw from that fund. I think what we'd have to think about is, what we would forecast as a reasonable assumption for our part of the cost of the disaster. So maybe it's somewhere between 2.5% and 7% of some number, and then start to build toward that. But unfortunately, we couldn't guarantee that before we even got to that number, we'd have another natural disaster that would drain the money anyway.
Right. And we also don't want to be holding on to people's money and having to just sit there with just this idea that something bad may happen, right? So I think, and this gets back to do we borrow or do we save, right? And I think in a situation like this, we borrow because we don't know what it's going to cost. But we do know now that we have this 3% and this, or 2.5% and this 7%, and those are numbers that we can say, what would a payment be on that, and have that be a piece in our budget. Yes, Mark?
Do we know, Dorinda or Cheryl, what kind of interest rate we get from the bond bank nowadays?
It varies because like right now, we just got approved for the Municipal Climate Recovery Fund loan program, and they're offering us 0.5% for this, for just $1 million at this time. And this money can be used for paying off whole and part prior expense notes, interfund loans, and reimbursement of any direct expenses. So
It's usually significantly less than going through a conventional bank. However, our bank has been, they've been keeping the rates pretty low until we hit, this past couple years. And
Right. Yeah, I remember rates, Dorinda, 3% and 4%.
yeah.
In today's environment, that's a pretty good deal.
Before you move on, can I just bring up one thing that kind of ties in with the administration position?
Yeah.
When you start talking about these positions, I think you need to step back and look at where the positions are now. You hired Cheryl as a bookkeeper. At the time, you had a treasurer. Now you don't have a bookkeeper, or you don't have a, she's doing two jobs. If she was to get sick or hurt, you don't have anybody trained to really step in. I think each job, in the same way with Sarah, technically Cheryl's spending the majority of the day doing bookkeeping. There's no one being an assistant to help Sarah. I think you need to go back and look at these job positions, how they, like, when we hired Cheryl, it was hired as an assistant clerk, assistant treasurer. You came up with a rate of pay for that, but we never went back and separated how each of those positions should be paid. So I think that's very important. Before we start adding on more personnel, we need to take care of what you got here already, because this is a potential disaster.
Yep, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think that, and that's why I want someone else to come and talk to us about what a town administrator does, what their role is, how they work with the other staff, what other staff are still required, and just see how some of the towns are doing it and seeing if it's working, if it works out for them.
But I don't know if they pick up accounting jobs. I mean, that's the whole thing. I just think that, I've been helping with questions and doing things since March without taking any pay or anything. And not that I'm asking for pay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because it was never addressed. It's just hanging out there.
Yep. Okay, listen, I'm going to pass this over to Randy to finish. We're on treasurer's report, and I have to go do my meeting, and I'll be back. But if you need to adjourn while I'm still down there, feel free.
Okay, Cheryl, we're 6:23 for the meeting minutes. Let's go into treasurer's report.
I was actually just going to say about the bond bank loan. I've got a commitment letter that I have to sign and get back to them by Friday. That we definitely want to do this $1 million loan at 0.5%. So I need to get that signed, and I guess, asking for you guys, is that okay to run with?
I'll make a motion that we sign that.
Okay.
0.5%, all right.
So we have a motion to authorize the treasurer to sign the commitment letter for the $1 million loan at 0.5%
0.5%.
interest. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Victor? Seconds. All in favor of said motion?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
Perfect.
So please, by all means, submit that and
Get that done.
move forward with that.
We're gonna close, they're shooting to close the week of December 16th, and the attorney's gonna be pulling together all that paperwork to get that done. I've been working on the audit too, and I think she's hoping to have that done by the end of this week or beginning of next week. She said if I got her all these selections that she just made, that she was hoping to get pushed through.
So end of next week, we should have finalized that audit process.
Yeah, start that process of looking at things anyway.
It's gonna need my signature. That'll
What?
be here, that loan document.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to
Want to be
need,
able to forge it?
Can you say that again? I didn't
I
hear
said
you.
it's gonna need my signature and I won't be here, maybe I can authorize Dorinda to sign it, I'll just do something like that, as an assistant clerk, which Dorinda is.
yeah,
Okay, do you need a board approval for that?
probably. I would.
Okay, sure.
So it becomes, I think because it's a legal document.
absolutely.
we
I'll
need
make
to-
a motion that Dorinda can sign as assistant clerk for Sarah in her absence.
Okay,
Second.
Victor seconds.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Do you have anything else for the
No,
treasurer's
that's it.
report?
That's all, more than I wanted to say.
Okay, we're running 6:25. Considering the WCUUSD's request for for approval to mail 2025 annual ballots to all active, non-challenged voters, action likely. I think we have something in front of us. Chris, do you have anything that you want to?
No, just that, done it for many years running, no cost to the town, other than there's time, there is time, I'm not gonna, say that there isn't, but postage, forms, everything else will be paid for. And if there's a reimbursement form, I think the folks will fill out, and then, the school district will reimburse for those costs.
Okay. Does anybody have questions about this for Chris?
Sarah?
I do.
Oh,
Okay, so, I think all election workers love democracy. We all want people to vote. The experiences that we've had recently with mailing ballots to the school, from the school, has created great confusion and anger among certain voters. So here's the deal. The anger came when the budget needed to be revoted and all voters were not mailed ballots. So you mailed the school ballots in March, and then when there was the revote, they weren't mailed. And people felt that was, at the worst, deceptive. And they felt as though the school board was trying to sneak one under the door. So that election was also complicated by the fact that we had understandably very difficult voting. We had presidential primary where people could not be voted, could not be mailed ballots. People are not mailed ballots for the town in Middlesex, unlike other towns in your 5-member district, because we vote a lot of the big issues from the floor, including the budget. So we only mail town ballots by request, and because those ballots are just town officers. So people are very confused. We signed more people signed affidavits last year than I think submitted early ballots that were mailed to their house. Does that make sense? In other words, people just came in and they either didn't send in their ballots or they just didn't vote. They were signing tons and tons of affidavits saying on election day.
Saying that they hadn't already submitted something.
Correct, I'm sorry.
And
Yeah.
that angers them
Affidavits.
when you tell them they have to sign an affidavit.
So people got ticked. And I have serious reservations about continuing this process, considering that town ballots are not mailed to everyone from Middlesex automatically, and the Vermont Career Center ballots are not mailed automatically, because that's impossible. So when people get this ballot, they don't know where their town ballot is, they call up, they are confused. It would be much simpler if we just if we reverted to the old system where people, if they wanted to vote, early, or they wanted to vote from Florida, we mail them ballots. If they want to vote on voting day, they can do that. If they want to come in the office and vote early, they can vote early. But mailing everybody just a school ballot creates confusion and ultimately anger if there is a revote and you don't mail all the ballots.
So would it help to just mail all the ballots on the school district's postage? So that they all are going to go out along with the school district.
Well, first of all, I don't
So
think
they're not picking and choosing what you're mailing out as a ballot.
you're saying that you would mail the town ballots out
Yeah.
as well? I mean, that to me is a
You
mistake.
don't want to give up that.
I don't think so.
You can't give up that role, can you legally? You have to run elections.
We have piggyback, during COVID, we piggybacked ballots. The town paid for its portion and the school paid for its portion, but the select board made that decision to send all the ballots to everybody. But in that case, the budget and all the special articles, the entire warning was on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, we're going back to an in-person town meeting, and the only thing that's gonna be on the ballot are town officers, and frankly, that's just not very compelling. And I also think then you have more confusion. People say, well, where's the budget? COVID really screwed people up when it came to voting. They don't know what they're supposed to vote on, when they vote. It's very confusing. But again, the big issue was the revote on the budget. If you guys are gonna make a commitment to mail school ballots to everybody, then you've got to mail budget. You've gotta make a revote on a budget. You have to mail that to everybody.
So when you were saying that, you condition this vote on saying that if any ballot for the school, if it's mailed, it has to be mailed even if there's a revote. So the school would be committing to that process,
Well-
as opposed to not, saying, we're only paying to mail the original.
I mean, I think that's a good idea, I think that's a start, but I think the problem you're gonna have is just a very practical problem, was we could not get LHS to mail those, we could not get it all organized to mail those re-voted budget ballots in time. And the school districts consulted with their attorney, who said, it's okay, you can just mail, have a regular day when people come in and vote, and if people want the ballot early, they can request. I don't know how that happened, but it was a practical problem. That's the reason why you guys didn't mail
So
those
if they're
ballots.
okay with that, then why is the school wanna, continue to mail these out? If they're okay with just having a day where people go in and vote, and whoever goes and does it,
I think
does
they
it.
want a uniform approach across all the districts, and that mailing seems to be the easiest way to have a uniform approach.
But you didn't have a uniform approach.
Well, we can't mail them, and statutorily, we cannot mail them ourselves.
But you
so-
didn't have a uniform approach when it came to the budget revote. So the budget
Well,
fails.
okay, but we did have a uniform approach on the original budget going out.
That's true.
So.
Then you had a revote, and the only,
I agree
Yeah.
with you on that.
so that's
I
my
think-
2 cents on this.
So the way to address that would be to condition your vote on saying that if there's a revote, for whatever reason, that those ballots need to be mailed as well.
Well,
And-
I'm
and that would-
stepping out of it. I'm just giving you my 2 cents on this. That's that. Yeah.
Linda, you've got a question?
I got 2 points. First of all, it's no different than, it would be uniform if everybody who wanted an absentee ballot called up and said, could you please send me an absentee ballot? And I know for a fact they're asked, do you want the school and the career center and, the town? And the people will voice what they want. To be honest with you, there's very few people that come in with mail back their separate school ballot. It's not, it's either they come in with it, so they're here to vote anyway, or, they're not mailing it back separate, or that's when they call confused saying, well, I didn't get a town ballot.
Right.
Peter has his hand
And
up.
so it's like really confusing.
Peter?
Randy, everybody. This is a tough one. I can see why we would want to mail out ballots, but I agree. I mean, either we should mail out all the ballots so everybody has the expectation that they're going to get a ballot, or we don't mail out any ballots. So that it's handled consistently across the board. Doing it sometimes, not doing it other times, having the school do it, but the town doesn't do it. I would hate to be answering all those phone calls in the town clerk's office. It's got to lead to unbelievable confusion. And a lot of people who just throw up their hands and don't vote because they don't know what to do. So I understand why it might seem like a good idea to mail out ballots, but if we're going to mail out all the ballots, it's going to be a big expense and a lot of work. So I believe I am against mailing out ballots.
I think there's no expense, is that correct?
Right.
But
How did it work in the past when we teamed up together so that the ballots were all sent,
There was shared cost.
as one? How did that work?
The town funded a portion of the cost to make that mass mailing.
Mm-hmm.
The school funded a portion of that mass mailing, and there was one other.
Well, to be quite honest, that was before the Career Center really existed, I think.
Right.
So that we didn't have the Career Center, we just had the school and the town, and it was COVID, and again.
there was
all the questions
no
were about-
in-person voting. There was,
No in-person voting, but now
So-
there is in-person town meeting, and this is where
Yeah.
the confusion's coming in.
right.
Yeah.
Because there's not always going to be a school ballot. If you agree to say we're going to mail out all the ballots, but there's not always a school ballot. So, it's, that's just confusing, but
Victor, you have
There's
anything?
every town meeting there is.
only town meeting.
there is.
Yeah, but what about during, November?
Peter's
or
got his hand.
primaries, whatever. So,
Peter?
Just one other question. What are the other towns doing? Are they agreeing to mail out the ballots or no? Chris?
You know, Peter, I don't know what the responses from the other towns have been. You know, each representatives were coming out to each of the school, the select board meetings to solicit support, and then we report back. We need to report back by the 21st of December. So the answer is I don't know what the other towns have done.
And just to be clear, I mean, not all towns have the same district, you know, the same system. So East Montpelier has most of their questions, including their budget, on their ballot.
point.
And that's a big one. I think their special
Yep, good
articles is all
point.
that's left in the town meetings. So it makes sense for East Montpelier to mail them out to everyone. I'm sure Calais is different, but it's not equal.
Victor?
Well, yeah, I think that it's going to be a real added cost to the taxpayer, whether it comes out of the town
Town
fund.
budget or the school budget, that's
My
right.
left pocket or my right, as I always say,
Yeah, that's true.
and I just think it's confusing. Just adds confusion to everything. Keep it simple.
Everybody's had a chance to talk. Does somebody want to make a motion regarding the mailing of the WCUUSD annual ballot?
Go for it.
Peter?
Make a motion that we do not agree to mail out the ballots.
I'll second that.
Okay. Peter made a motion not to mail the ballots, and Victor seconded. All in favor of not mailing the ballots?
Aye.
Aye. So we will not be mailing the annual ballots for WCUUSD. Okay,
For your consideration.
thank you.
The rest of
For
the
your
meeting.
time?
There is something on here for Welch Park Association, authorizing dissolution and granting the chair authority to sign any deeds, agreements related to this action.
It did not materialize.
It did not materialize. Okay, so Peter?
After a long struggle, and I'm looking for Sarah to confirm this, but I've been carefully reading the emails and paying attention to what the town attorney says, I think we have finally reached the end of the road. Dorinda, I expect you to jump up and down with joy on this Welch Park business. It has been a long struggle.
It sounds like it hasn't materialized yet, Peter.
Oh, but it is, my understanding is we're about to have the document, so we can.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood you then. Yeah, no, that's great that we've finally gotten to that point, but I think for tonight's meeting, we don't have to take any action or.
No, I think it's just, no, I think it's just news. We need to review the documents, et cetera, yes.
Yeah.
But we're very close.
They were supposed to be available, but they apparently are not.
Okay, so we'll have, it sounds like we'll have those before our next meeting. Okay, so we have some orders under other business, approving the FY26 and FY27 MOU with the City of Montpelier to provide ambulance services, action possible.
This did not get put in your packet, but I did send it to the email to you.
Okay.
Yeah, how much was it?
It's
50 million.
it's a lot of money. It's 53,000 due on July, 53,370 due on July 15th of 2025, then 53,370 due on December 15th of 2025, 57,817 due on July 15th, 2026, and the same amount, 57,817 due on December 15th, 2016, and I have the previous one to compare.
Did I just hear $49,000?
I think it was like
Plus we
49,000.
pay here, plus then we pay once they get picked up.
We paid last year, or this current year, 75,000.
75,000 total, and we're looking at 107,000
Yeah.
for 25, and
I have the 2020, I have the previous agreement, it has more years, but here's the previous.
We budgeted 75.
$40,000, it's gone up significantly, like $13,000 per 6 months.
Yeah, so we budgeted 75, the actuals looked like just over 80. And from 80 to 106 and change. It's a pretty substantial increase. And for 26, it would bump to, call it 116.
Odd.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Very odd. But I don't think we got, unfortunately, I don't really think we have any choice. We have no other option that I'm aware of.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, you know.
That was my other that was going to be my question, Peter. What are our options?
Yeah.
What about, then the town do it like water?
In the past, we have tried to look into other options, but they've never been attractive. I mean, that isn't to say we can't do it now. I don't know when the deadline is to sign this. Is it the end of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to have time for this year.
Yeah.
But we did explore it with, at the time, Barry Town was doing Berlin. We tried that several years ago. Waterbury said they wouldn't take us on at the time, but this was, I don't know, probably 5 years ago or so anyways, that we might have asked them. But it was, you know, we tried to form a regional ambulance service at one point and get all the little towns involved, and it's expensive to run an ambulance and man it. And the problem is they don't stay in your town. So if we hooked on to another group, they may be coming from Barry Town. And that was the problem.
Which is another half hour.
Excuse me, the other thing I would say is, you know, we have had over the years very few, if any, complaints about the Montpelier Ambulance Service. They do a good job, and they seem to meet the needs of our citizens. So this probably is not the time, unfortunately, to be looking into this. And I know that's a whopping increase, but I think probably like everything else, we need to swallow hard. And if we're going to look at this, start looking at it for next year. Maybe ask them if we can sign a 1-year contract. I don't know.
Yeah, because this is 4 years?
This is 2.
Okay.
So it would carry us from July 1st of 2025 through June 30 of 2027. So a 2-year
That
agreement.
locks in the rate for 2 years, which you hate to then have to go back to the well, and they might increase it even more.
Yeah.
That's right, Dorinda. I agree with you. I spent a lot of time years ago, and I think Dorinda, you were involved in it too. I went down and met with the Montpelier people. I met with the Barry people. We did a lot of talking and a lot of figuring, and it basically all amounted to nothing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it would seem to me like entering into a 2-year agreement is our best option at this point. And if this was something that we wanted to shop in that 2-year period, we could start having conversations to see what is even feasible.
Well, you would bet with these kind of rate increases, a lot of people are going to be asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU at the rate that they are providing us.
Okay, Zara has made a motion to approve signing this MOU. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Peter?
Peter seconds. All in favor of authorizing Chair Select Board to sign this MOU? Say aye.
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 With regrets.
Yeah.
With regrets.
Okay. Did you have something, Beck? No.
I have something, but I'm waiting for you to, any
Okay.
other business?
Yes, any other matter that may come before the board?
I do.
Victor?
Yeah, I was just wondering, and, you know, it may be that nobody wants to even talk about it, but I know we had brought this up before. I know you had said something. I noticed going through this tonight, the dirt tech bills, and it was mentioned way back, they are charging us for a staging area, and we gave them one.
Is that right, Cheryl?
It does say staging area on there, but I
mean-
Eric looked at it, but I don't think it's staging, so it's them moving material from the staging area, right?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you can say anything you want, but in the original estimates for which we did back then, we gave them 5%. I can show you the original contract. We gave them 5%. $2 million, that's $100,000. I don't know if you want to just say, okay, well, too bad, we lost it. But I'm just, if you want to say something, fine. If you don't, I'm just putting it out there.
And the 5% was for
Staging area.
staging.
Which we turned around and gave them, which we originally said we wouldn't.
Okay. Zara?
I just want to make sure Cheryl's comfortable in taking care of asking about that.
I can ask, yeah.
Great.
I mean, I don't know if it's Cheryl's job to ask about it.
Well, she talks with Dirt Tech.
I think it would be more of a discussion amongst the select board whether they want to pursue it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Liz, just to give you an update, we've moved through talking about dirt tech bills. Vic notes that on the bills, we're still being charged for staging areas, and we had a 5% in there, which on that, I think he kicked out $100,000 round math. And then we ended up providing them with the staging area. So the question is, does the board want to pursue and dig into asking Dirt Tech why we're being charged for something that we've essentially provided them?
Yeah, unless they're referring to some other staging area, like where they keep their stuff every day that they have to bring in or something like that.
I don't know of that area.
I think it's okay to get clarity.
I totally think it's fine.
I can ask Connie.
I mean, it could be too that they just haven't communicated with each other, and she just puts it in there because that's what they do.
Right.
They have made mistakes with their bills,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
They have what?
They have made some mistakes with their bills, which have had to be corrected, but,
If it hasn't been called to their attention and the initial contract was awarded with the expectation that we weren't going to be providing a staging area for them, and that is a change from when when the contract was issued, then, it's probably just an oversight, but we should call it to attention,
I think we
especially
should,
at
for
that,
Yeah,
that
no,
value.
I agree, 5%.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If we can save,
Good catch, Vic.
Yeah.
save
I
some
wouldn't
money
know
there.
that.
so no, and we agreed to give them 5%, meaning what?
5%
So
of
there's
every bill.
There's a 5% of the overall was the allowance for the staging
If they,
area.
yeah, if they charge us $10,000 and then they put down 5,000, they put down 5% staging. It's a separate line item.
It's probably just a regular thing in their budget that they don't.
And are you
even-
sure they're charging it? Because they have on
Yeah, it's
every
broken-
bill.
It's broken down, I have to break it, when I break the bills down, so
She did.
you're actually easier to deal with when you go doing your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I
put in
think
there,
so,
I
sir.
have mobilization and traffic safety, and then I have staging, so it's like a one huge line item that brings all those totals in together for the staging.
Okay.
And then everything else is broken down by road.
Yep.
But I can ask Connie and Lauren for clarification.
Yeah, I think it seems like we're all in agreement that we want to chase that, so absolutely.
Thanks, Randy. I'll let you finish chairing. You're doing such a good job. I don't want to take it away from you.
Do we have any other matters?
I was gonna say one
this
thing, has there been questions about the
saw.
camper that's part of my
yeah.
That I need to
property? I
We all
received
do.
a call today
I haven't
from
signed
the
it
mother of
yet.
the owner
I'm
of
not quite sure why.
it. It is a really kind of sad story. These people have been evicted from their emergency housing. It's a couple with 2 teenage kids and a dog, I guess multiple pets, which is part of the problem. They are living currently in the mother's unheated garage, which is being heated by electric heat. And the tire is flat. They hope to get the tire fixed, but now they're gonna need other tires to get through the snow. They're trying to clean around it so that they don't clean snow around it so the road crew doesn't bump into it with their plows. And they're just asking for a little time and patience while they seek for some place to move this thing.
Okay. That's fair, I think.
This is parked at Rumney,
Right in the big parking area in front of the.
Along the road
It's actually-
parking.
by the
It's
ball
actually-
field.
Yeah, but
It's actually town.
But the mother lives in Middlesex?
Yes, she lives even a stone's throw away. But they can't get the camper up to her house. So, that's why they left it there.
Anyone want to offer free towing service?
Is there even
I don't have it.
anything in
I don't either.
place that
Town of Middlesex with
states
bucket
that
loader?
there's no overnight parking or anything like that in that location?
Lift it right up.
I don't know, I'd have to do some research.
That would have
Yeah, I
been a
mean, I
question
guess-
for Chris McVeigh.
I mean, I guess that's the first question that comes to my mind is, do you even have,
It's town land, it's not school land, it's town land.
Right, it's town land, right.
No overnight parking on town roads, plenty of people park their cars on town roads.
Yeah.
Well, just, like I said.
Let's just put up a new sign with our new sign budget. No overnight parking.
I mean,
There's no overnight parking here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless you live near the town hall, then you can't overnight park.
Well, don't tell me, because we're meeting tomorrow at 5 to go to that thing.
And you're gonna park on the
That goes
road?
to 8:30. No, we're gonna park here, we're gonna meet here, so we all drive in together.
That's town land.
Overnight.
Sorry,
It's overnight.
we're on town business.
so I guess I'm struggling to find, like, are people calling and complaining that this is parked there, or what is the issue?
The issue, I'm getting calls.
People are
of
curious.
saying, what is the issue? What's going
Yeah.
on? Who, are these people camping here?
So people are being
there?
nosy.
Actually, somebody posted it on Front Page Forum, didn't they?
Yes.
So
Let's-
LA Bird. I just
Oh,
put it- I just
okay.
put it-
Yeah, yeah,
I knew I saw it someplace.
Let people be nosy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They covered up with a tarp last night or the night before?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the town crier said.
Thank goodness for the town crier.
Anyway, if you get calls from people asking, that's the answer.
Okay.
Just time and patience, give them a break.
And do you have a space for them to rent with their 2 teenagers and several animals?
Do we have any other communications or any other matters that come before the board?
Nay.
With that, I will adjourn at, is that clock right?
It's 2 minutes fast.
6:51.